Over the last few days, a name that had gone quiet in the Social Security conversation has suddenly returned. And whenever that happens, markets pay attention, lawmakers react, and agencies quietly prepare. Donald Trump has stepped back into the Social Security discussion. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear so no one is misled. This does not mean checks are being mailed tomorrow, and it does not mean surprise deposits are hitting bank accounts overnight. Anyone saying that is not being honest. Before we dive deeper, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss regular updates, and share and like this video so it reaches more people who truly need this information. What this does mean is that when a former president and major political figure starts talking again about Social Security, the entire direction of the conversation shifts. And that matters more than many people realize. Social Security doesn't move randomly. It moves when pressure builds, and right now, that pressure is coming from multiple directions. Millions of seniors are dealing with the same reality. Grocery prices are still high. Utility bills keep climbing. Rent hasn't come down. Prescription costs remain painful. Meanwhile, many people saw their Social Security increase disappear almost as soon as it arrived. On paper, the adjustment looked helpful. In real life, it was quickly eaten up by Medicare premiums and rising everyday costs. So, when Social Security heats up again, especially driven by someone with national influence, it's not accidental. It's strategic. That's why you're hearing talk about larger checks and possible changes. But let's slow this down, because the goal is to keep you informed, not confused. When you hear phrases like big increase or next week, that usually doesn't mean money is hitting accounts. More often it means announcements, positioning, or formal discussions are coming. Think of it like thunder before a storm. You don't get rain right away, but you know something is forming. That's why this update matters. Over the past year, Social Security has faced growing scrutiny. Lawmakers have argued over funding. Reports have warned about long-term timelines. Seniors have been caught in the middle, trying to survive month to month while debates play out in headlines. Now Social Security is back in the spotlight, and that alone should get your attention. If you rely on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, this is exactly why this channel exists. The goal is to cut through rumors, explain what's real, and protect you from misinformation that causes unnecessary stress. This isn't a one-time story. It's ongoing, and I'll walk you through it step by step. What makes this moment different is timing. This renewed focus is happening while millions of Americans on fixed incomes are falling further behind real-life costs. That combination changes the tone of discussions. Behind the scenes, when political leaders speak publicly about Social Security, agencies start modeling scenarios. Budget teams run numbers. Advisors look at what adjustments could be politically possible and financially realistic. That doesn't guarantee change, but it does mean planning begins. And planning is where real change starts. Now, skepticism is understandable. You've heard promises before. You've watched headlines come and go while your bills kept arriving. That's why this update isn't about hype. It's about explaining how Social Security changes actually happen and what to realistically watch for next. Because the most dangerous thing for seniors isn't bad news, it's false hope. When an influential figure re-enters the Social Security debate, it doesn't instantly raise benefits. Social Security doesn't work like a switch. It works like a long process with many steps. Public statements come first, then policy outlines, budget language, and internal discussions. Only later do proposals turn into action. So when people say big checks next week, they're usually talking about movement, not deposits. Pressure is what moves Social Security faster, and that pressure is building. Seniors are still feeling inflation. Everyday costs haven't gone back down. At the same time, Social Security remains one of the most powerful political issues in the country because millions of voters depend on it. Add in budget timing and public opinion cycles, and even small statements start to matter. It's also important to understand this clearly. No president, current or former, can unilaterally raise your Social Security check. Benefit levels are set by law. Congress plays a role, and the Social Security Administration carries out what's allowed. Changes usually come through formulas, targeted adjustments, or temporary relief, not overnight increases. That's why headlines can be misleading. Big increases can mean many things. It could involve adjustments to COLA calculations, targeted help for lower-income recipients, temporary relief payments, or protections tied to inflation. Each affects people differently. The truth usually sits in the middle, not at either extreme. Every major Social Security change in history followed a similar path. Public pressure, political focus, debate, limited changes, and gradual rollout. Rarely does it start with checks. That's why the coming days matter, not because deposits are guaranteed, but because the direction of the conversation may shift. Inside agencies, questions start being asked. Who is struggling the most? Which benefits haven't kept up? What changes could realistically pass? Those conversations don't happen when Social Security is ignored. They happen when it becomes unavoidable. Some voices will promise miracles. Others will say nothing ever changes. Both are wrong. Social Security does change, but slowly and unevenly. Understanding who could benefit first helps prevent disappointment later. It often depends on benefit type, income level, age, and status. If you're receiving Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, don't make financial decisions based on headlines. Don't take on new expenses assuming increases are guaranteed. And don't panic if nothing happens immediately. Awareness is your strongest tool. Watch official language. Notice what's repeated and what quietly fades away. Historically, discussions often focus first on those under the most financial strain, including low-income seniors, SSI recipients, and disabled individuals. For someone receiving around $900 a month, inflation hits much harder than for someone receiving $2,500. Even a modest adjustment can be life-changing at that level. Payment timing is another source of confusion. Social Security follows strict schedules based on birthdays and benefit type. That doesn't change overnight. If a real increase were approved, it would come with official notices, updated benefit letters, and clear effective dates. Costs also vary widely by state. A dollar stretches very differently depending on where you live. That's why there's growing pressure to recognize that one-size-fits-all solutions don't always work. Even when changes happen, delays are common. The SSA still deals with backlogs, and not everyone sees updates at the same time. That doesn't mean something went wrong. It means the system moves carefully. Right now, the smartest move is to stay steady. Don't budget money you don't have yet. Track expenses. Stay informed through reliable information. Preparation reduces stress and protects you from misinformation. Even if nothing changes immediately, the fact that Social Security is back in the national conversation matters. It signals awareness and pressure. And pressure is what eventually leads to action. You'll know something real is happening when official language becomes specific, lawmakers reference changes formally, and the SSA communicates directly with beneficiaries. Real changes always leave a paper trail. Be cautious of exaggerated claims and countdowns. Real Social Security changes are methodical and paperwork heavy. That's how you know they're legitimate. If you rely on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, remember this: you are not invisible. Millions of Americans are facing the same rising costs and financial pressure. That reality is driving this renewed focus. The strongest position you can be in right now is informed, calm, and prepared. Before we wrap up, comment your city and state and share which expense worries you most right now. If this update helped bring clarity without fear or hype, like the video and subscribe. That helps this information reach others who need it. Social Security is your lifeline, and you deserve transparency, not confusion. I'll continue tracking real updates and explaining them clearly as they happen. Until then, stay steady, stay informed, and take care.